And watching today's winners and losers on Wall Street with our financial expert Rob Black, and some really bad news coming out about the U.S. economy. Contracting in the first 3 months of the year, and by a fair amount, Rob. That revised GDP number, not so good.
Yes, and that's okay because it's a revised GDP number,
Okay.
and in my world, past performance is not indicative of future results.
Thank goodness for that.
And yes, it looks like a contraction. 2 quarters in a row of contraction equals a recession, but it was a really harsh winter. We here at Cron would do stories about Arctic blast and cold sweeping across the the Midwest, and like if you spit in New York, it instantly froze on the sidewalk before you even hit the ground. Like there was just crazy stories out there about how cold it was, and when it's cold, we lock ourselves in, and when we lock ourselves in, we're not spinning it on the economy. So I'm okay with this. In the end, it actually makes for some easy comparisons going forward. So it's not a headline that is going to move the market. It's a headline that we'll look back in history and go, oh, it was really cold.
Okay, and then we look at retailers a lot, too, to get a gauge of the economy. You got some numbers coming out from Costco.
Yeah, I was talking with a couple of financial analysts yesterday, and one of them said, I never want to buy anything that competes with Amazon. Amazon has that set price, Amazon Prime. Costco has the set price. Sam's Club has the set price for as far as becoming members, and then you get things at really cheap prices. The problem is millennials just hate going out shopping. They'd rather have stuff brought to their home rather than going out to Costco. So Costco reported some fine earnings, but not so good as far as revenue goes. What's interesting about Costco is how many people keep their Costco memberships even after they die. This is a company that does very, very well. It's a nice story. It's not really reflecting anything in our economy, so maybe I shouldn't have pulled the story because it's really not telling us anything about how middle income, upper income, or lower income spending. It's just it's one of those stocks you can't get excited by.
Yeah, I like Costco, and I like the fact that they're a company that does well, and they pay their workers a living wage, which is nice to see.
You are correct, sir.
And free samples.
You like the samples?
I love the samples. I love going to Costco.
You're such an 8-year-old child.
I am. Thank you for finally realizing that.
No worries.
We're talking Apple, and we're all waiting for a new product, but some pretty bold statements from the chief of iTunes about what's coming from Apple in the future.
Yeah, Eddie Q had to get out in the public yesterday talking about the Beats acquisition, and he said, we've got the best pipeline I've ever seen in 25 years of product, which is pretty impressive.
Bold.
Considering the Mac, the iPad, the iPhone, the MacBook Airs. So we're going to get a massive refresh of everything. The month is almost over. The year is almost halfway over. So if it's the best pipeline ever, they got to start getting stuff out at the developers conference next week. That could be a catalyst for their stock to move higher. Expect a new hardware device on their TV. You know, the big issue is we know there's going to be a bigger phone this year, a 4.7-inch versus a 4-inch. That should help some of the people who have Android big screens go, you know what, I'll go to Apple's big screen. So Apple's got some good things lined up. The question is, the million-dollar question is a watch. Will the watch come out this year? And if it does, it's heavily linked towards medical ideas, like maybe it'll track your heart rate, maybe it could predict a heart attack. There's some angles here that look very intriguing.
All right, excited to see those products come out. But we're hearing the iPhone. I'm hearing September, really, for the fall, right? 4 months away. Okay, for that phone. And we're talking about Apple, and the big news has been the $3 billion acquisition of Beats, and an email from Travis coming in saying, well, Apple Beats buy Hurt. Well, that was all backwards. But what is your... Will Apple buying Beats hurt Pandora or Spotify? It's a really interesting purchase, Rob.
That's easy for you to say. It won't hurt Pandora in any way. Pandora is a very passive, ad-supported network, whereas Beats and Spotify are more about the subscription and cultivating music. So Spotify has about a $4 billion price right now. They're going to probably come public later this year as far as valuation goes. So I think it hurts Spotify much more so than Pandora. Down the road, I think Apple may be interested in Pandora just to control the whole music industry. The stock Pandora has recently come off its highs of around 40 all the way back to 25. $5 billion market capitalization. That would be chump change for someone like Apple to buy.
Yeah, and $3 billion is chump change for a company like Apple. But I keep hearing the big question: why? Why did Apple buy Beats? None of the analysts that I see on Wall Street really see an angle here for them.
High margin business, and their CEO Jimmy Levine is well respected. Dr. Dre brings street credibility, which Apple has really, really lost with 18-year-old and under kids.
Well, he is a doctor.
He is a doctor.
Thank you, Rob. And if you have a question for Rob, post it on his Facebook fan page, and we'll answer it here on Cron 4.